Zelaria and Thalos stood before the Grand Council of the Azrithians, their hearts pounding. The chamber was vast, with high ceilings and walls adorned with intricate symbols glowing softly in the dim light. The council members, robed in ceremonial garb, looked down upon them with a mix of disappointment and stern resolve. "You have both violated the core principles of our society," the lead counselor intoned, his voice echoing throughout the hall. "For your insubordination, you are hereby exiled to the primitive planet known as Earth." Zelaria, with her emerald skin and eyes that shimmered like starlight, clenched her fists. Beside her, Thalos, whose azure complexion mirrored the deep oceans of their home planet, tried to maintain her composure. Both had never felt such a mix of fear and defiance. Before they could protest, a bright light engulfed them, and in an instant, they found themselves hurtling through space. The transition was jarring, and as they descended through Earth's atmosphere, their escape pod began to shudder violently. They crashed into a dense forest, the impact knocking them unconscious. Hours later, they awoke to the sound of birds chirping and the rustling of leaves. Dizzy and disoriented, they stumbled out of the wreckage only to be greeted by a tall, slender man with sandy hair and glasses, peering curiously at them. "Are you aliens?" he asked, a mix of fear and excitement in his voice. Zelaria and Thalos exchanged wary glances. "We mean you no harm," Zelaria said cautiously. "Who are you?" "I'm Dr. Marcus Gray," the man replied, extending a hand, "and I think I can help you." Dr. Gray's secluded cabin became a temporary sanctuary for Zelaria and Thalos. The walls were lined with bookshelves filled with texts on human history, science, and technology. The girls were fascinated by the sheer volume of information. Over the next few weeks, Dr. Gray taught them how to blend in. He provided them with clothing to disguise their alien features and coached them on human customs and language. Despite the strangeness of their new environment, Zelaria and Thalos were quick learners, their advanced intellects adapting swiftly. One morning, Dr. Gray announced that he had enrolled them at the local university. "It's the best way for you to learn about human society and gather the information you need," he explained. Zelaria and Thalos were both nervous and excited as they walked onto the bustling campus. The buildings were old but grand, with students milling about, engrossed in their own worlds. They attended their first lecture on human history, sitting quietly in the back row, taking in every detail. During a lunch break, they met Emily, a friendly student with a warm smile and an inquisitive nature. "Hi, I'm Emily," she introduced herself, holding out her hand. "I haven't seen you around before. Are you new here?" Zelaria hesitated, but Thalos stepped forward. "Yes, we're exchange students," she said, recalling the cover story Dr. Gray had devised. "I'm Thalos, and this is Zelaria." Emily's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Where are you from?" "A distant place," Zelaria replied with a hint of a smile, not entirely lying. Days turned into weeks, and the girls immersed themselves in their studies. They marveled at human ingenuity, even as they found the technology quaint compared to their own. They grew close to Emily, who introduced them to the complexities of human relationships, social structures, and emotions. However, not all interactions were positive. Some students viewed the newcomers with suspicion and jealousy. A group of them, led by a brash young man named Ryan, often taunted Zelaria and Thalos for their unusual mannerisms and accents. "Weirdos," Ryan sneered one day. "Where did they dig you up from?" The girls tried to ignore the taunts, focusing on their mission. They spent evenings with Dr. Gray, discussing their findings and learning more about Earth's history. They were particularly intrigued by ancient texts and artifacts that hinted at previous extraterrestrial visits. It was during one such discussion that Zelaria stumbled upon a book with strange symbols eerily similar to their own language. "Dr. Gray, look at this," she said, showing him the book. "These symbols, they look Azrithian." Dr. Gray's eyes widened. "This could be significant. We need to investigate further." Weeks turned into months, and Zelaria and Thalos became more accustomed to their new life on Earth. The university library became their second home as they pored over ancient texts and artifacts, searching for any connection to their own civilization. Their curiosity was piqued by recurring symbols and stories of beings descending from the stars. One rainy afternoon, while examining a collection of ancient scrolls, Thalos stumbled upon a peculiar artifact, a small, intricately carved stone with symbols that closely resembled Azrithian script. "Zalaria, look at this," she whispered, her voice filled with excitement. "This could be the proof we need." Zalaria examined the stone, her eyes widening. "We need to decode this. It could lead us to more answers about our presence here." With Dr. Gray's help, they managed to translate the symbols. The text spoke of a hidden chamber beneath a forgotten temple, rumored to contain relics from an ancient alien civilization. Emily, now a trusted friend and confidant, offered to accompany them on their quest. Their journey led them deep into a dense forest, to the ruins of an ancient temple covered in vines and moss. Using their advanced technology, Zalaria and Thalos located a hidden entrance. The group descended into the dark, musty corridors, their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the walls. After hours of navigating the labyrinthine passages, they found the hidden chamber. Inside, they discovered an alien spacecraft, remarkably well preserved despite the passage of time. The walls of the chamber were adorned with detailed carvings, depicting humans and Azrithians standing side by side, united in harmony. This changes everything," Zalaria breathed, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "Our civilizations have a shared history." As they examined the spacecraft, they found records and data logs detailing an ancient alliance between Azrithians and humans, formed to protect both species from a common enemy. The realization struck them like a lightning bolt. Their exile was not just a punishment, but a crucial part of a larger plan to reignite this ancient alliance. As Zalaria and Thalos pieced together the significance of their discovery, they remained unaware of the looming danger. The Earth Defense Initiative, EDI, a covert government agency, had been monitoring unusual activities and recently detected the crash of an unidentified object, Zalaria and Thalos's escape pod. Agent Thomas, the determined and relentless leader of EDI, had been tracking anomalies for years. The sudden spike in extraterrestrial readings around the university area piqued his interest. "We found them," he declared to his team, a determined glint in his eyes. "Prepare for a covert operation." Meanwhile, back at the university, Zalaria and Thalos shared their findings with Dr. Gray and Emily. "We need to be cautious," Dr. Gray advised. "If the government finds out about this, they'll want to capture and study you." Emily nodded in agreement. "We should lay low and continue our research quietly. We don't want to attract unnecessary attention." However, secrecy proved difficult. One evening, as they left the library, Zalaria noticed a man in a dark suit watching them from a distance. "We're being followed," she whispered to Thalos. Thalos glanced over her shoulder and saw the man speaking into a concealed earpiece. "We need to lose him," she said, her voice tense. They took a series of sharp turns and ducked into an alley, eventually managing to shake their pursuer. Despite their precautions, Agent Thomas and his team were closing in. Using surveillance footage and intercepted communications, they pinpointed Dr. Gray's cabin as the aliens' hideout. Late one night, EDI operatives surrounded the cabin, preparing for a raid. Inside, Zalaria, Thalos, Dr. Gray, and Emily were deep in discussion. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps and muffled voices reached their ears. "We're out of time," Dr. Gray said urgently. "We need to leave now." But it was too late. The door burst open, and armed agents flooded in, their weapons trained on the group. "Don't move!" Agent Thomas barked, stepping forward. "By order of the Earth Defense Initiative, you are all under arrest." Zalaria and Thalos exchanged a determined glance. "We won't go down without a fight," Zalaria declared. Before the agents could react, Thalos activated a small device, creating a blinding flash of light. In the ensuing chaos, the group made a desperate escape through a hidden tunnel beneath the cabin, emerging into the forest under cover of darkness. Panting and disoriented, they regrouped a safe distance away. "We can't stay here," Emily said, her voice trembling. "We need to find a new place to hide and continue our work." As they disappeared into the night, Zalaria and Thalos knew their mission had become even more dangerous. They were no longer just seeking the truth. They were fighting for their survival against a powerful and relentless enemy. With the Earth Defense Initiative, EDI, hot on their trail, Zalaria, Thelis, Dr. Gray, and Emily moved to a secluded safe house deep in the mountains. The safe house, an old abandoned cabin Dr. Gray had known about from his childhood, offered them a temporary reprieve from the relentless pursuit. Its remote location ensured minimal risk of detection, allowing them to focus on deciphering the secrets they had uncovered. Days turned into nights as they worked tirelessly, decoding the symbols and data logs retrieved from the ancient spacecraft. The more they delved into the records, the more they realized the depth of the ancient alliance between humans and Azrithians. Detailed logs described how Azrithians had visited Earth millennia ago, sharing knowledge and technology to help humanity advance. In return, humans offered their resilience and resourcefulness, traits the Azrithians admired and found essential in the face of common threats. One night, while sifting through a particularly dense section of the logs, Thalis stumbled upon a crucial entry. "Zalaria, come look at this," she called out, her voice tinged with excitement. "It talks about a hidden communication device left on Earth by our ancestors, designed to contact our home planet in times of dire need." Zalaria hurried over, her eyes scanning the ancient text. "If we can find this device, we could potentially call for help, or gain more information about why we were sent here," she mused. "It could be the key to understanding our true mission." Dr. Gray and Emily joined them, listening intently. "Do you have any idea where this device might be?" Dr. Gray asked. "According to the logs, it was hidden in a location that is now a major urban center," Thalis replied. "We need to cross-reference this with current maps to pinpoint its exact location." Using the university's online archives and historical records, they began the painstaking process of mapping ancient landmarks to modern cities. After several days of intense research, they narrowed it down to a historic district in a large city, renowned for its ancient ruins and underground catacombs. As they prepared to set out, Emily couldn't help but express her concern. "The city will be crawling with EDI agents. We need to be extremely careful." Zalaria nodded. "We will be, but we have to take the risk. This might be our only chance to uncover the truth." Their journey to the city was fraught with tension. The closer they got, the more they felt the weight of their mission and the increasing danger from EDI. Despite the ever-present threat, the bond between the group members deepened. Late-night conversations around the campfire revealed personal stories, hopes, and fears, drawing them closer together. During one such evening, Emily and Zalaria found themselves alone, watching the stars. "You know," Emily began softly, "before I met you, I never really thought about life beyond Earth. But now, it's hard to imagine a world without you in it." Zalaria looked at Emily, her eyes reflecting the distant starlight. "I've felt something similar. Meeting you has shown me a different side of humanity, one full of kindness and courage. It makes me believe that our two species can achieve great things together." Meanwhile, Dr. Gray and Thalis worked on their equipment, making necessary adjustments for their upcoming search. "You know, Thalis," Dr. Gray said, pausing to wipe his brow, "I've been a scientist all my life, but I've never encountered anything as extraordinary as you and Zalaria. You've opened my eyes to possibilities I never dreamed of." Thalis smiled, her blue eyes shimmering. "And you, Dr. Gray, have shown us that humans are capable of great wisdom and compassion. I'm grateful for your help and your friendship." The group finally reached the city under the cover of night. They disguised themselves as tourists, blending into the crowd as they navigated the bustling streets. Their destination was an old, seemingly forgotten church, rumored to be built atop ancient catacombs. According to their research, the hidden communication device was somewhere within those underground tunnels. Inside the church, they found a discreet entrance to the catacombs. The air was thick with mustiness as they descended into the darkness, their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the walls. Zalaria and Thalis led the way, their knowledge of ancient Azrithian architecture guiding them through the maze-like tunnels. After hours of searching, they came upon a hidden chamber. The walls were adorned with the same symbols they had seen in the ancient spacecraft. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal upon which rested a small, intricately designed device. Its alien design was unmistakable. "We found it," Thalos whispered, her voice filled with awe. As they approached the device, Zelaria activated it using a sequence she had learned from the logs. The device hummed to life, projecting a holographic message. An elderly Azrithian appeared, speaking in their native tongue. "To those who find this message, know that your mission is of utmost importance. The ancient alliance must be rekindled to face the coming threat. Trust in your human allies, for together you will be stronger." The message ended, leaving the group in stunned silence. The significance of their mission was now crystal clear. They were meant to unite humanity and Azrithians against a common enemy, a threat that loomed closer with each passing day. As they made their way back to the surface, the weight of their mission pressed heavily upon them. But amidst the uncertainty, one thing remained steadfast: their growing bond, which would be crucial in the battles to come. Returning to their safe house with the communication device, the group felt a renewed sense of purpose. They began to formulate plans on how to use this newfound knowledge to rekindle the ancient alliance and prepare for the impending threat. However, their respite was short-lived. One evening, as the group sat around discussing their next steps, they were abruptly interrupted by a sudden commotion outside. Before they could react, the door burst open, and EDI agents stormed in, weapons drawn. Leading the charge was Agent Thomas, his expression a mix of triumph and determination. "Nobody move!" he barked, his gaze sweeping over Zelaria, Thalos, Dr. Gray, and Emily. "You are all under arrest. Hand over the device." Dr. Gray stepped forward, trying to reason with the agent. "You don't understand, Thomas. This device holds the key to an ancient alliance. We need it to protect Earth." Thomas shook his head. "Save it, Doctor. My orders are clear. Secure the aliens and any technology they possess." As the agents moved to restrain them, Zelaria and Thalos exchanged a determined glance. In a swift, coordinated move, they attempted to activate a defensive mechanism on the communication device. But the agents were prepared. One of them fired a stun gun, and the aliens crumpled to the ground, unconscious. Dr. Gray and Emily were also subdued, bound and gagged as the agents secured the device. Thomas stood over the unconscious forms of Zelaria and Thalos, his expression unreadable. "Take them to the facility," he ordered. "We need to find out everything they know." The group was transported to a high-security EDI facility, a stark, sterile complex deep within a mountain. Zelaria and Thalos were placed in separate holding cells, while Dr. Gray and Emily were kept under close guard in another part of the facility. The interrogation sessions were grueling, with the agents employing every tactic to extract information about the aliens' technology and mission. Despite the harsh conditions, Zelaria and Thalos refused to break. They communicated through subtle, coded messages during their brief moments of contact, planning their escape. Dr. Gray and Emily, though exhausted and worried, remained steadfast in their resolve to free their friends. Unexpectedly, an ally emerged from within the ranks of EDI. Dr. Laura Bennett, a scientist who had been quietly observing the situation, approached Dr. Gray during one of his interrogation sessions. "I believe you," she whispered, glancing around to ensure they were not being overheard. "I want to help you escape." Dr. Gray's eyes widened in surprise. "Why? What's changed?" Dr. Bennett sighed. "I've seen enough to know that EDI's approach is wrong. If there's a chance that what you're saying is true, that there's a greater threat out there, we need to be united, not divided." Under the cover of night, Dr. Bennett orchestrated a daring escape plan. Using her clearance, she disabled the security systems and led Dr. Gray and Emily to the holding cells where Zelaria and Thalos were kept. The corridors were eerily silent as they navigated through the labyrinthine facility. Reaching the cells, Dr. Bennett quickly unlocked the doors. Zelaria and Thalos, though weakened, managed to stand with Dr. Gray and Emily's support. "We don't have much time," Dr. Bennett urged. "Follow me." The group moved swiftly, encountering minimal resistance thanks to Dr. Bennett's careful planning. As they reached the facility's exit, alarms blared, signaling that their escape had been detected. Agent Thomas and a squad of agents were closing in fast. "We need to split up," Dr. Bennett said urgently. "It's the only way you'll have a chance." Reluctantly, the group agreed. Zalaria and Thalos headed towards the forest, while Dr. Gray, Emily, and Dr. Bennett took a different route to create a diversion. The sound of gunfire echoed in the distance as they fled into the night. Zalaria and Thalos, despite their exhaustion, pushed forward. They knew they had to find a new place to hide and continue their mission. As dawn broke, they found themselves at the edge of a small, remote village. They took refuge in an abandoned barn, using their remaining energy to set up a temporary base. Meanwhile, Dr. Gray, Emily, and Dr. Bennett managed to evade capture, but they were now fugitives, constantly on the move to stay ahead of EDI. They communicated through secure channels, sharing updates and coordinating their efforts to uncover more about the Ancient Alliance. The escape had not only freed them from captivity, but had also sparked a rebellion within EDI. Dr. Bennett, disillusioned by the agency's methods, began covertly recruiting other sympathetic scientists and agents. A growing number of EDI personnel started questioning the agency's directives, realizing that the true threat lay not in the aliens they had captured, but in the impending invasion the aliens had warned about. As Zalaria and Thalos regrouped and planned their next move, they knew their journey was far from over. They had gained valuable allies, but the battle for Earth's future had only just begun. The rebellion within EDI, their deepening relationships with Dr. Gray and Emily, and the looming threat of the ancient enemy all pointed toward a confrontation that would decide the fate of two worlds. As Zalaria and Thalos settled into their temporary base in the abandoned barn, they wasted no time activating the ancient communication device. The device, now humming with energy, projected a detailed star map highlighting Earth and several other celestial bodies. They initiated a secure transmission to their home planet, Azrith, hoping to reach anyone who could help. After what seemed like an eternity, a holographic figure materialized. It was an elderly Azrithian, his expression a mixture of concern and relief. "Zalaria, Thalos," he began, "your mission has taken a dire turn. I am High Counselor Zarun. We have received your distress signal and the data logs you transmitted. The threat you face is indeed the Zarth, a warlike race bent on domination." Zalaria and Thalos exchanged a glance, their suspicions confirmed. High Counselor Zarun continued, "The ancient alliance between Azrithians and humans was forged to combat the Zarth. We believe the threat was eradicated millennia ago, but it appears they have returned. Your presence on Earth is no accident. You are there to reignite the alliance and prepare humanity for the impending invasion." "Counselor, we need more resources and support to prepare Earth," Zalaria implored. "The humans are willing, but they lack the technology and knowledge to face this threat alone." Zarun nodded. "We are dispatching a covert fleet with advanced technology and defense systems to aid in your preparations. However, it will take time for them to reach Earth. You must continue to build alliances and prepare the defenses in the interim. Trust in your human allies, for together you are stronger." The transmission ended, leaving Zalaria and Thalos with a renewed sense of urgency. They immediately contacted Dr. Gray, Emily, and Dr. Bennett to share the critical information. The revelation of the Zareth's return galvanized their resolve. They knew that the key to victory lay in uniting humanity and leveraging the advanced technology of the Azrithians. Determined to act swiftly, the group devised a multi-pronged strategy to prepare Earth for the coming invasion. Dr. Bennett, leveraging her insider knowledge, continued to recruit sympathetic EDI personnel, turning the tide within the agency. Meanwhile, Dr. Gray and Emily worked tirelessly to rally global leaders, presenting them with evidence of the impending threat and the necessity of the ancient alliance. Zalaria and Thalos focused on integrating Azrithian technology with human systems. They established a hidden laboratory in the barn, where they began constructing advanced defense mechanisms and upgrading existing military equipment. Emily proved to be an invaluable liaison, helping to translate complex concepts into terms the human engineers could understand. As the weeks passed, the rebellion within EDI gained momentum. Dr. Bennett's efforts bore fruit as more agents and scientists joined their cause. The EDI, once a monolithic entity focused on containment, began to fracture, with a significant faction now working to prepare for the Zarth invasion. One evening, while working late in the lab, Zalaria and Emily found themselves alone, the weight of their mission heavy on their minds. "I never imagined my life would take this turn," Emily said softly, her eyes meeting Zalaria's. "But I wouldn't trade it for anything." Zalaria smiled, her alien features softened by the affection in her gaze. "You have shown me the true strength of humanity, Emily. Together, we will protect this world and build a future where our species can coexist in peace." Meanwhile, Thalos and Dr. Gray spent long hours poring over tactical plans and simulations. "The Zarth are relentless and strategic," Thalos explained. "We need to anticipate their moves and outmaneuver them." Dr. Gray nodded, his analytical mind racing. "We should focus on creating decentralized defense hubs, so even if one is compromised, others can still function. And we'll need to ensure that communication lines remain secure and resilient." As their preparations intensified, they received word from High Counselor Zarun that the Azrithian fleet was approaching. "They will arrive within a fortnight," Zarun's message conveyed. "Until then, hold the line and continue your preparations. Reinforcements are on the way." With this assurance, the group redoubled their efforts. They organized covert training sessions with military personnel, integrating Azrithian tactics and weaponry. Dr. Bennett, now a key leader within the reformed EDI, coordinated intelligence efforts to monitor any signs of the Zareth's approach. The city, once unaware of the looming danger, began to buzz with quiet but determined activity. People from all walks of life volunteered to assist in any way they could, from building fortifications to providing logistical support. The sense of unity and purpose was palpable, a testament to the bond Zalaria and Thalos had forged with humanity. As the day of the Azrithian fleet's arrival approached, Zalaria and Thalos took a moment to reflect on their journey. They had come to Earth as exiles, but now they stood as leaders, bridging the gap between two worlds. Their mission was clear: to defend Earth from the Zareth and build a future where humans and Azrithians could stand together as equals. The final preparations were made, and the group stood ready, knowing that the battle ahead would test their strength and resolve. But with their growing alliance and the promise of reinforcements, they faced the future with hope and determination. The day dawned with an eerie calm, the skies clear, but the atmosphere tense with anticipation. As promised, the Azrithian fleet arrived, their sleek silver ships descending gracefully through Earth's atmosphere. High Counselor Zarun transmitted a message to all allied forces, both human and Azrithian. "We stand together at the precipice of history," Zarun declared. "Today we face a formidable enemy, but we do so united. Let our resolve and cooperation be our strength." As the Azrithian ships landed, they quickly integrated with Earth's defenses. Advanced weaponry, shields, and communication systems were deployed across strategic locations. Military leaders from around the world, now fully briefed on the situation, coordinated with Azrithian commanders to form a cohesive defense strategy. Zalaria, Thalos, Dr. Gray, Emily, and Dr. Bennett stood at the command center, a hive of activity where human and Azrithian experts worked side by side. Large holographic displays showed the positions of Allied forces and incoming Zareth vessels. The first wave of the invasion fleet had been detected on the outskirts of the solar system. "Here they come," Thalos said, her voice steady but tense. The Zareth ships entered Earth's atmosphere with terrifying speed, their dark, jagged hulls contrasting sharply with the sleek design of the Azrithian fleet. The invasion force spread out, targeting major cities and military installations. The first clashes erupted in the skies above, with Earth's combined forces launching a fierce counterattack. Zalaria and Thalos, piloting advanced fighter ships, led the charge. Their superior agility and firepower took the Zareth by surprise, but the invaders quickly adapted, proving their reputation as relentless warriors. The skies were a chaotic battleground, filled with explosions and the bright flashes of laser fire. On the ground, Emily and Dr. Gray coordinated the efforts of defense hubs, ensuring that reinforcements were dispatched where needed, and that communication lines remained intact. Dr. Bennett, now a key figure in the EDI's command structure, directed intelligence operations to anticipate Zarth movements and counter their strategies. Despite their initial success, the sheer number of Zarth forces began to overwhelm certain areas. Zelaria and Thalos fought valiantly, but the weight of the invasion started to press down on them. In the midst of a particularly brutal dogfight, Zelaria's ship was hit, sending her spiraling towards the ground. "Zelaria!" Thalos screamed over the comms, her voice breaking with fear. Zelaria managed to regain control just in time, crash landing in a deserted field. She crawled out of the wreckage, battered but alive. Before she could catch her breath, a group of Zarth soldiers surrounded her. Drawing her weapon, she prepared for a fight she knew she might not survive. At that critical moment, a squad of human soldiers led by Emily appeared, engaging the Zarth and providing Zelaria with cover. "We've got your back," Emily shouted, helping Zelaria to her feet. With renewed determination, Zelaria and Emily joined forces, pushing back the Zarth soldiers. Thalos, having cleared her own engagement, landed nearby to assist. The three of them, supported by the human squad, managed to secure the area, but the larger battle raged on. As the battle continued, it became clear that a decisive action was needed to turn the tide. High Counselor Zaroon proposed a daring plan. A strike team would infiltrate the Zarth flagship and disable its command systems, throwing the invasion into disarray. Zelaria and Thalos volunteered for the mission, with Dr. Gray and Emily insisting on joining despite the dangers. The strike team, composed of elite human and Azrithian soldiers, embarked on a stealth mission to reach the Zarth flagship. Using cloaked shuttles, they navigated through the thick of the battle, evading enemy patrols. As they docked with the massive alien vessel, the tension was palpable. Inside the flagship, the team moved swiftly through dimly lit corridors, encountering fierce resistance from Zarth guards. The combined skills of the human and Azrithian soldiers proved invaluable, but losses mounted as they fought their way to the command center. Reaching the command center, they found it heavily fortified. Zelaria, Thalos, Dr. Gray, and Emily worked together to breach the defenses, with Zelaria and Thalos using their advanced technology to disable security systems, while Dr. Gray and Emily provided covering fire. Finally, they stormed into the heart of the flagship, where the Zarth commander awaited. The battle inside the command center was brutal. Zelaria and Thalos engaged the commander directly, their combat skills honed to perfection. Dr. Gray and Emily focused on disabling the control systems, working under intense pressure. Just as it seemed victory was within reach, the Zarth commander delivered a devastating blow to Zelaria, knocking her to the ground. Seeing Zelaria in peril, Dr. Gray made a split-second decision. He activated a device he had rigged to overload the ship's power core. "This will disable their entire fleet," he shouted over the din, "but it means I won't make it out." "No, Marcus," Thalos cried, but Dr. Gray was resolute. "There's no time to argue," he said, his eyes meeting Thalos's and then Zelaria's. "You have to finish this." With a final nod, Dr. Gray initiated the device. Emily, her eyes filled with tears, pulled Zelaria to her feet. "We need to go now." As they made their escape, the ship began to tremble with the impending explosion. The strike team raced back to their shuttles, barely making it out as the flagship erupted in a brilliant explosion, disabling the Zarth fleet's command systems. The remaining Zarth ships, now leaderless and disorganized, were quickly overwhelmed by the combined Earth and Azrithian forces. The sacrifice of Dr. Gray was not in vain. With the Zarth fleet in disarray, the Allied forces launched a coordinated counterattack, pushing the invaders back and securing a hard-fought victory. The skies cleared, and the remnants of the Zarth forces retreated, their invasion thwarted. Back on the ground, amidst the wreckage and the jubilant but exhausted soldiers, Zelaria, Thalos, and Emily stood together, mourning their loss but proud of their victory. They knew that Dr. Gray's sacrifice had saved countless lives and forged a new bond between their peoples. As the sun set on the battlefield, a sense of hope and unity prevailed. The combined efforts of humans and Azrithians had not only defended Earth, but had also laid the foundation for a lasting alliance. The battle had been won, but the journey toward a peaceful future had just begun. In the aftermath of the Zarth invasion, the world was a changed place. Cities began the arduous process of rebuilding, and the scars of battle were evident everywhere. Yet, amid the rubble and the loss, there was a profound sense of hope and unity that had not existed before. Zalaria and Thalos, now hailed as heroes, found themselves at the forefront of this new era. Their actions, alongside those of Dr. Gray, Emily, and Dr. Bennett, had not only saved Earth, but also demonstrated the power of cooperation between humans and Azrithians. The Council of World Leaders, convened in the newly constructed Global Unity headquarters, invited them to share their knowledge and help guide the integration of Azrithian technology and philosophy into human society. During one of the first joint sessions, Emily stood at the podium, addressing representatives from every nation. "The battle we fought was not just against the Zarth," she began, her voice steady and clear. "It was a battle for the future of our planet, for the possibility of what we can achieve when we stand together. Zalaria and Thalos showed us that our differences are not a barrier but a strength." Thalos and Zalaria, standing beside Emily, nodded in agreement. "Our peoples have much to learn from each other," Thalos said. "The ancient alliance between Azrithians and humans was based on mutual respect and shared goals. It is time to rekindle that spirit." In the months that followed, collaborative projects sprung up worldwide. Azrithian engineers worked with human scientists to develop new energy sources, advanced medical treatments, and sustainable technologies. These innovations began to transform cities, making them more resilient and harmonious with the environment. The United Earth Defense Force, UEDF, was established, a combined military force equipped with both human and Azrithian technology to protect the planet from future threats. Emily, who had taken on a leadership role within the Global Unity Council, often reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. She and Zalaria had grown incredibly close, their bond deepening into a profound love that was both a personal joy and a symbol of the new world they were building. One evening, as the two of them walked through a peaceful, reconstructed park in what had once been a war-torn city, Zalaria spoke of her hopes for the future. "Our mission was born out of exile and punishment, but it has become something so much greater," she said, taking Emily's hand. "Together, we have shown that love and cooperation can overcome even the greatest of challenges." Emily smiled, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the setting sun. "We have a lot of work ahead of us, but with you by my side, I believe we can achieve anything." Meanwhile, Thalos and Dr. Bennett continued to collaborate on scientific advancements. Their partnership blossomed into a deep friendship, and they often found themselves discussing not only science, but also the philosophical implications of their work. "What we've achieved here is just the beginning," Dr. Bennett said one day, as they watched a prototype of a new energy generator come online. "Our worlds are now intertwined, and the possibilities are endless." High Counselor Zarun, in regular communication with Earth, expressed pride in the progress being made. "The success of your mission has reaffirmed the strength of our ancient alliance," he said in a broadcast to the Global Unity Council. "The lessons learned and the bonds forged here will serve as a beacon of hope for both our peoples." Zalaria and Thalos, alongside Emily and Dr. Bennett, were often called upon to speak at global events, sharing their experiences and insights. Their story became a symbol of hope and possibility, inspiring countless others to pursue cooperation and understanding over conflict and division. In a historic ceremony, a monument was erected in the heart of the Global Unity headquarters. It depicted humans and Azrithians standing side by side, their hands joined in solidarity. The inscription at its base read, "United in purpose, bound by love, stronger together."